Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Wynne at AUVSI. I'm delighted to be joined today by Alberto Lacaze. Alberto is the co-founder and president of Robotic Research, not far from where I am here in the Washington, D.C. area. Alberto, I understand you're up in Maryland in the Gaithersburg area. Is that right?
That's correct. We have three facilities, one in Gaithersburg and two in Clarksburg. So our test facility, where we have about 200 acres of on-road and off-road testing area, is out in Clarksburg.
Oh, very good. Well, I'm going to try and come up and visit with you sometime. I always like to see robotics in action. Well, I hope that first and foremost that we find you at a time when you and your family and all your teammates at Robotic Research are well.
We are. We've been lucky enough to, well, nobody exactly knows, but we don't think that any one of our employees have gone sick yet. And that is always good news, but, you know, we are surrounded, and it's hard to find someone that does not know someone is either tested positive or has been in the hospital with this disease.
Indeed, same on my end. Everyone's safe, but we're not far removed from how this is affecting everyone. And that is, in fact, the reason why we're doing this series, to kind of highlight some of the things that are going on in our community that are responding. But before we get to some of those questions, Alberto, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about the company? We wanted to interview you because of the fact that your company is doing such interesting work across domains, both the air side and the ground side, and also across both defense applications and commercial applications. So a lot of really great embedded technology, and can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we started robotic research in 2002. We used to work, myself and my co-founder, we used to work at NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, and we are concentrated in robotics and autonomy technology. So robotic research today is a leading provider of autonomy and robotic technology solutions across both the military and in the commercial side. So on the military side, we are primes on autonomy on larger programs like Expedient Leader Follower and autonomous ground resupply. And on the commercial side, actually there was a newswire today that we are automating buses, both in Connecticut and in New York. These are one of the most busiest lines in the world. And we have autonomous shuttles that are currently in about 25 or so cities, depending on which city is closed due to the disease. So we are, and those vehicles are all, at least the shuttles are at level 4 of autonomy. So it's rare to hire a company that is both in the Department of Defense and the commercial side.
Mm-hmm. And how are you finding the general acceptance of the way people are reacting to the technology? Are they excited about it? Are they curious about it? Or do they trust it? What's been the general experience?
So it varies significantly from country to country and from application to application. In general, is being very well received, and I think it has a very, very bright future. A lot of the work basically allows to minimize accidents, as well as provide a more constant flow of traffic, right? So, for example, in the programs in New York, we're not only concentrating in safety, but we're actually concentrated in trying to increase the throughput of the Lincoln Tunnel, right? And that is an area that is currently not fully, I would say it's not fully advertised, is not the correct word, but it's not only that autonomous vehicles can bring more safe environment, but my hope is that we can better utilize the infrastructure of the roads and so forth. That is, I think, is just as important, because all the roadways around the world are beyond capacity already, and it's harder and harder to build new roadways.
That's right. Yeah, and I if I think of one place that I've been stuck numerous times trying to get in and out of, it's the Lincoln Tunnel in New York, trying to get into New York City or get out of New York City. So
yeah, if we could save 5 minutes of that commute,
yeah.
It will be gigantic, right? It's very large on not only on the time saved, but actually the money saved, right? It's a lot of money spent of people just sitting idle.
Well, exactly. So you're a great innovator. I know this from many of the panels that you and I have been on together. You have dozens of patents. And I understand your company has also responded to the COVID-19 situation by using some of the technologies that you've developed to contribute. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. There are three main aspects that we have been working on. So the first one, when this started, you know, I personally have family in the hospital, and many other people have groups that are working in the healthcare industry. And in the first wave, when this started, there was a lack of protective equipment, especially face shields in local hospitals and so forth. The problem was that a lot of these face shields were originally designed to be used once, not multiple times. So once you have, you know, a large number of infected people, they're constantly changing these devices. So we designed a new face shield using models that came from the WHO and the CDC, and we made it in such a way that it was cleanable, right? So it can be sterilized and reused, and that provided a big help to the local community. So we distributed, we started using all of our printing capabilities basically to print as many of them as we could, and we provided to 4 or 5 of the hospitals in our locality with our face shields. So that's number one. Number two, a few years ago, we developed this technology that allows you to 3D print devices and maintain them sterile. This is very important for hospitals where, I don't know if you remember, for example, in Italy, they were trying to 3D print these valves for ventilators that had broken. Normally, those valves are injection molded and then sterilized. It's very hard to sterilize 3D printed material because it has issues with the sterilization process. It's either too hot or it actually affects the polymers and so forth. So being able to print something that is maintained sterile is very, very important. We developed this technology for the Department of Defense. And what we did is that we decided to release this patent for public use during the pandemic. Right? And my hope is that people are using this technology to 3D print devices that are that stay sterile, right, without having to go through a sterilization process. This bypasses and many parts of the supply chain, being able to print these parts in place. Right. Right now, almost every hospital has a 3D printer, and by doing some relatively simple changes, they can basically start printing sterile plastic.
And what's been the response? So you said you've made the technology available, putting it in the public domain. What's been the response to that?
It's hard to know. So we know some people have told us of this. We don't know exactly how many. Right now, it's so messy that it's hard to understand exactly what's going on. But our hope is that people are using it. And number three, which is something that we're working very hard right now, is on once sooner or later the whole world is going to reopen, and there's going to be a lot more public transportation, right? And an immediate question is going to come in. How likely am I to have something that is you know, a bus that is clean, right, or a taxi that is clean, right? How well has it been sanitized, and so forth. So we're working right now on technology to sanitize the inside of the vehicles, and as well as the outside of the vehicles. And this is we think it's going to become really, really important in the few next, call it 6 months, call it a year of reopening. Right, we would like basically our vehicles to become almost street sweepers, in the sense that they could not only sanitize their own internal part of the vehicle, but maybe act as way of sanitizing external areas like door handles, railings, and, you know, buttons for crossing the road, and so forth. So we're working with our partners to be able to release that technology very, very soon.
Well, that's great stuff. And obviously the more confidence people have coming out, the faster we're going to recover from this, and potentially the quicker we're going to be able to respond in a future situation, something similar to this. So thank you for that. And as somebody, as I know you do, somebody who has healthcare workers in the family, really appreciate that. So I wanted to just shift gears or broaden out a little bit more about, you know, COVID-19 notwithstanding, how you see the markets developing for the technologies that you're bringing, and for the customers, what do you see as the main challenges and the main opportunities right now?
It's a very open question. So, and I wish I had the crystal ball for knowing exactly how things are going to move. So I think basically, you know, from a transportation standpoint, on the commercial side, I think things are going to slowly start to reopen. Right, the economy cannot stay closed forever. Right, it's not healthy for the country, and ultimately, I don't think it'll be healthy for the people themselves either. So sooner or later, we're going to have to reopen. As we reopen, a lot of these transportation needs are going to come back up, right? So, you know, an autonomy will be needed and tested as well. There's also some other new applications that come up, right? For example, transporting linens and transporting laundry that, you know, in ways that would allow you to have more social distancing, if you will. And autonomy for those areas is very important. I already mentioned the idea of the quote unquote COVID street sweepers. So I think that all of those applications are, even though the virus is affecting traditional transportation means, is opening up new areas that were not there before or were much smaller in the past. So I think in the next few years, as the disease develops, we're going to have a little bit more understanding of how big those new markets are and how permanent they are. Right? It's unclear yet whether, you know, vaccine will protect us forever or just for 6 months, right? So this might be something we need to live with for a very long period of time. So interesting times, and you know, when there is movements at this scale, there's always new opportunities, and we're always looking for them.
Well, you and your company are a great example of how the unmanned systems and robotics community is responding to this crisis, and how we add value, I think, in many different ways. So Alberto Lacaze, we really appreciate it. Thanks to you and your team at Robotic Research.
And thank you very much to provide this opportunity.